Hi, Dr. Karen Can. Welcome to another edition of the Spiritual Medicine Digest. And every week I share with you what's going on in the spiritual, energetic world, the unseen world, and especially things related to the ascension process where we expand our awareness and our vibration to higher and higher levels. So, as of this recording, which is Thursday, February 13th, 2020, we're actually ending one part of the ascension phase called the expansion phase, going into the next phase, which is the ascension resistance. Now, if you watched last week's, you're like, whoa, 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 wait a second. I thought this went in order, right? Like the first ascension phase is expansion, sorry, rising, then expansion, then resistance, and then finally integration. And you might be going, wait, didn't we just finish the integration? Well, here's the thing is that the ascension phases of the ascension cycle, there's four of them, okay? They take certain amounts of time, but not the same every day, every week. So sometimes we go through all four phases of the ascension cycle in a day. It hasn't happened in a little bit, but other times it takes like 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 days to go through each phase. I'm sure there's a really cool Fibonacci sequence as or number as to how often they come, but I just report them as they show up. So if you're a little lost right now, just look back at some of my other videos talking about the four phases of the ascension cycle, and then you get some ideas of what happens during those phases and how that affects you if you're a highly sensitive soul. Now, it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect other people if they're not highly sensitive, but you, if you're highly sensitive, may feel it more than others. So right now, we just ended the expansion phase and we're going into the resistance phase. So I thought I would give you a little bit more detail for each of these phases, like what's going on, what are our challenges, and what are the really great things that are happening in each of these phases. So let's start with the expansion cycle that we just finished. Okay, so let me minimize my video here. So in the expansion phase of the ascension cycle, um, basically, we feel more. So our spiritual gifts actually expand. Now, this is a good thing. Okay, it's like you are getting more gifted, more talented. You're expanding your horizons, you're expanding your gifts. However, for highly sensitive people, if you don't know how to harness these expansive gifts as a superpower, like I like to say, then you could have some symptoms of feeling too much. And this is when a lot of the sensitive souls post on my Light Warrior Network Facebook group, oh my God, it's been a terrible week. What's going on? Um, so I want to share with you in detail some of the things that we do checkups on. Now, I am the founder of the Topocan Healing Method, and in this method, we do divine muscle testing, and we actually test specific questions related to whatever symptom or issue the person is having. Now, in this case, I'm going to be sharing with you what we would actually divine muscle test related to the ascension phases of the ascension cycle, in this case the expansion phase. So as you expand your gifts, okay, what do we need to do to feel good and to kind of harness those gifts as a superpower and kind of like contain them so they don't get too wild and crazy and have us feel too much. Now, if we feel too much, we're not just talking about feeling too much about people around you, their feelings, their emotions, and yes, of course, that can happen. But we're talking about being able to feel like the ails of mass consciousness or the depression of Mother Earth, or, and sometimes she does get depressed, or an alternate timeline, or your soul destiny partner, your contract partner who you may have a contract with to help them in this timeline. So if they're having, leaky gut digestive symptoms, lo and behold, you get them too until you help them heal theirs, right? Energetically, consciously. So, and it's much faster that way than doing it through your body. It can take a long time. Anyway, so there's lots of different things that you can feel when you're expanded. So what do we do to kind of contain those powers so that we only feel what we really need to feel for our highest and greatest good and what we're responsible for feeling? And then if we want to do, intuitive reading for our own highest and greatest good, or even for someone, if you're a professional, I call that intuitive impressioning, then you can like grab it out of that container and go, okay, I'm going to use a superpower now to then feel into this thing or that person or whatever so you can get information for the highest good. Okay. But unless you want to do that, we want to be able to consciously control it, right? So during the expansion phase, which, like I said, we just ended, um, here's a model that I think is going to really help you remember when this phase comes around what to do. Especially if you do divine muscle testing and you're a highly sensitive soul, I highly recommend that you learn this skill. Even if you don't do Topican Healing Level 1, learn the skill of divine muscle testing, okay? So the number one thing is you have to restore your boundaries because as you expand, think about a balloon being blown up with more air. Guess what? Those balloon walls get thinner, right? So your boundaries sometimes don't stay at 100%, not because they broke down, it's because they've expanded and they're a little thin. So you need to kind of rebuild them and restore them. So what we normally have you test is how happy are all my 7 boundaries: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic, dimensional. Well, I guess there's relational as well, right? So your 7 boundaries or relationship boundaries. So we ask how happy each of these boundaries are with divine muscle testing out of 100%, and we want them to be at 100%. So if they're not, we don't have to be upset. We can just restore them to 100%. Now, the quick and easy way of asking this, especially if you're already a Topican Healing Level 1 trainee or graduate, is just ask which of my 7 boundaries are the least happy and get a number out of 100%. And therefore, when you do the healing, you just keep asking that question. And if the least happy is 100%, you're good to go, right? You don't have to measure every single one. So that's the shortcut. So what do we do to restore boundaries? Well, as long as a source does not need you to know more information, which is where the healing method comes in really handy because we have a whole bunch of guides that will, share with you a matrix like what do you need to heal. But if you don't need to know more and you can just restore them, you just basically do a directive, a Topican healing directive. I now command that all my boundaries of all types be restored to 100% sovereign in the highest and best way, all directions of time and all timelines where I exist, or something to that effect. Okay, or if you want the quick way to do it, if you have my Ascension 2 MP3 or MP4 healing tool, you could just command it, say, "Hey, restore all my boundaries, thanks." That's about it, right? You play it and then you tell it to do that. Or if you happen to have one of my I know there's just a handful of you that have it, but my pre-ordered jewelry, my Ascension 3 jewelry. So we're doing some testing around this. So what you would do if you have this, and don't worry, we'll if it's working out the way it's looking like it's working out, we will be selling these again, but right now we are not. But anyway, but if you have it, if you're one of my testers, you're going to just grab it, right? Or touch it or pay attention to it in your mind, even if it's in the other room, and just say, hey, restore my boundaries, thanks. You okay? That's it. All right, so simple, right? Okay, let's go to the next issue. So, what else happens when you feel too much? Well, you have to rebalance your clairs. And you're like, okay, if you're new, you're like, what's a clair? So, we're talking about your clairvoyance, your clairaudience, your clairsentience, your what did I miss? Clairessence, clairgustance, clairknowing. Now, the clairknowing everyone wants, right? Because we just want to know what the answer is. People are like, I really love to know the lottery numbers. But anyway, clairknowing is something that we're all aspiring to just know the answer without having to go through some of these other, clairs. But those are your basic clairs, all right? And what happens during the ascension expansion cycle is they get more sensitive, but sometimes they're not fully balanced. So when they're not fully balanced, that means if you're very clairsentient like I am, that means I feel stuff, information from the outside world, I feel stuff in my physical body. So we need to rebalance those things. So if you know divine muscle testing, what you would ask is, how balanced are all of my clairs? And you would check clairsentience, clairaudience, and get a number out of 100% for each of those clairs, right? And if you don't need to know more and you don't need to, go to the guides, the Topican healing guides, figure out what it is you need to know, then you just do a Topican healing directive. I now command that all my clairs be completely balanced in the highest and best way, all directions of time and all timelines where I exist. Thank you. Notice there's a pattern to these directives, right? It's not rocket science. You kind of fill in the blank. It's really about intention and focus. So the quickie way, the shortcut, of course, is very similar to the other one. In Divine Muscle Testing, you can say, how balanced is my least balanced clair or spiritual gift, right? And then you figure out which one it is. Say it's clairaudience, so you're hearing stuff you're not supposed to hear, things that are like conversations from other timelines you think are ghosts or entities or you're going crazy, whatever. Okay, say clairaudience is your least balanced one. Say it's 20% balanced, right? When you do the directive, you want to get the least balance to 100%. And if your least balance is 100%, you don't have to measure the other ones. Got it? Okay, cool. Let's move on. What else happens when you feel more? Well, you become more sensitive to being able to pick up energies. And unfortunately, for now, as humans, we also tend to be more reactive. Now, that's definitely something we do not want. Okay, so reactivity is a knee-jerk reaction, usually a negative thing, to new information. So, for example, this past week, um, I was having some, let's see, what's a good example? Okay, constipation. There's a good one. So I was having some constipation, and I've known in the past, because I'm a medical doctor, holistic physician, that all the physical things that I could ever do to help the constipation, I already did. You know what I mean? Like I'm already doing, and it's not working. So that usually tells me that it's some sort of empathy or something that I'm energetically or emotionally reacting to. I'm feeling so much, and that's in this case what it was. And usually when I figure it out and rebalance it, I have a nice poop within the hour, which is super awesome. Okay. My mom, by the way, I want to just tell you this. My mom at the dinner table, she always ends up talking about poop. In our family, it's like a canned family tradition almost. And of course, my siblings and my dad, when we're together, they roll their eyes, right? And it's like, there goes mom talking about poop. And the next person that talks about poop a lot, me, right? So I don't mind taking after my mom. We talk about poop a lot, even at the dinner table. Oh, well, better than talking about pus, right? I used to do that too as a medical doctor. Anyway, I digress. So, yeah, so our parts of us can be reactive. And here's the interesting thing. It's not just our physical parts that can be reactive, like our nervous system, having that knee jerk, fight or flight. It's our energetic anatomy that can be reactive too. So your skin might be showing skin issues, but it could be the energetic version of your skin that's sensitive. You know what I mean? So, so this gets a little bit more complex and a little bit more skill required to get into the great details of it. But just so you know that you can turn down your sensitivity and reactivity, almost like turning down a dial, you can turn that down. So what you can do, this is the simple way, okay? There's a more complex way that we teach, but anyway, there's a simple way. And what you want to do is check what's my highest sensitivity to anything or anyone out of 10. 10 meaning the most sensitive, 0 meaning none. Now, for most highly sensitive souls, you're not really allowed to go below 2 because that's just who you are. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to end up being like a muggle, right? Like if you're a Harry Potter fan. Anyway, you're a wizard, not a muggle. Anyway, you know what I mean? So your sensitivity, if you can dial it down to a 2 to everything and anyone, you're doing good. Okay. And then same thing with reactivity, except for reactivity, we want that to be a 0. 0. So what's my highest reactivity to anything and anyone? Okay, out of 10. And then dial it down to 0. So again, if you need to know more, I would say refer to the Topican Healing Guides if you're a level 1, level 2 person. If not, then you may need to get some help or some sessions from a Topican practitioner. So what you want to do to dial down these is very simply do a Topican Healing Directive, assuming you don't need to know more. For sensitivity, you would say, actually, you could do them both at the same time if you'd like. Try it out. So I now command that my sensitivity and reactivity to anything and anyone be turned down to zero or as close to zero on a 10-point scale in the highest and best way, all directions of time, in all timelines where I exist. Thank you. So what'll happen is your sensitivity dial will turn down to 2, and your reactivity will turn down to 0 if allowed by source. And if there's nothing else you need to know, sometimes you might need a day or two to process, maybe less, but you can keep tabs on it, right? Cool or cool. So every time we hit that expansion phase, I want you to think, okay, where's my sensitivity and reactivity? Let me dial that down. Just FYI, there will be an MP3 for this kind of stuff. The sensitivity and reactivity dial. I don't know the name of it yet. Well, I'm working on the name of it. Anyway, just stay on my mailing list, KarenKen.com, and we will let you know when that MP3 is out. Okay, last thing here is we need to, during this phase where we're expanding our gifts, we need to recalibrate our awareness. So our awareness, everyone like in the spiritual world, oh, you can expand your awareness. You know, it's oh so great. You know, I'm kidding. They don't say it that way, but I keep hearing it, right? And I'm like, hey, you know what? Your awareness is expanding. You just actually need to recalibrate it because you're going to be aware of way too much information that you don't need to be aware of. And here's the thing is the simplest way to test this, we teach this in level 1, is you check what is my awareness of the now and what is my awareness of the whole. Now, for most people, the awareness of the now should be like 95% or higher when you're not doing healing work, if you're not a professional healer, okay? The other 5% of the time is, or not percent of the time, but percent of your awareness in this moment should be aware of everything else around you, right? Because you might need to know that there's a bear that's, you know, in your backyard. And anyway, so 95.5. So you can actually, if you're really good at muscle testing, you can get that percentage. What percentage of my awareness is in the now? What percentage is in the whole? And what's my ideal for me personally? But I'm just telling you on average, it's 95% in the now, 5% or less in the whole. And a second layer of complexity is some people are pretty good with their awareness balance of the now and the whole in when they're awake. But when they're asleep, you know. And then it causes problems. So you have to check what is my awareness of the now and the whole when sleeping and get maybe percentages of what's ideal for you and then compare it to what you have been doing lately before you do the healing. Now, is there a shortcut to this? I'm glad you asked. Yes, there is. So the shortcut is just asking, how happy is my awareness balance? Now, if you ask it that way, the universe knows, oh, you're talking about what Dr. Karen's talking about. Okay. So how happy is my awareness balance of the now and the whole, if you want to be exact, right? And then you just get a percentage of how happy that balance is. So you don't have to get the percentages for each one, just overall how happy and balanced is that, right? So you get a percentage while you're awake, percentage while you're sleeping, if you'd like to be that studious. And then you'll know if your awareness balance is only 55%, that means you're probably aware of way too much you don't need to be aware of. So we need to recalibrate that awareness balance so that you're back to a good balance. So if you're 100% balanced, that means you're probably back to that 95.5 or 98.2 or whatever it is for you. Got it? So after you figure out what your awareness balance is, and if you don't need to know more or don't have to consult the guides or whatever, then you do a Topocane healing directive that says, I now command that my awareness balance be 100% recalibrated and restored while awake, while asleep, in the highest and best way, all directions of time and all timelines where I exist, with ease and grace, thank you, right? You kind of say the same thing. All right, if you leave a little piece out, not a big deal. And we always say thank you at the end, right? Because I'm actually not doing the work. You're not exactly doing the work, but our spirit team, the universe, is doing the work. So we like to say thank you. So there you have it. That's the expansion phase, the ascension cycle. These are the main 4 areas I definitely would recommend that you check and rebalance every time we go through the expansion phase. And this could be 2 days from now. This could be a week from now. I don't know until it comes. Okay. Because I haven't figured out the math as to when it's coming. So I just test and whatever's going on with people, all the different clients I see, students, etc. I get a gist of what part of the ascension cycle phase we are in. So let's talk about what the phase we're in right now, that is different. All right, so we're going to go to our next one here. We are currently, as of this recording, Thursday, just stepped into the ascension resistance phase of the ascension cycle. So the ascension resistance phase is where we see a lot of sometimes emotional turmoil because sometimes even death. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's like things that just cannot stand the higher vibration they leave. People die, things die. Anyway, so that can happen. But what I do want to talk to you about is what goes on in this phase that you need to be aware of. And it basically is clearing or detoxifying. Think of that. Okay, ascension resistance, even though we think of resistance as bad, okay, it's not really. Okay, what it is that it's that last little bit of I gotta clear this gunk out so I can get to the next level or detox this gunk out. So we have physical stuff that we're detoxing, and that means infections and toxins. So sometimes people will go through cold and flu and whatever other symptoms thinking that it's a brand new infection. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. And you can test this with muscle testing if it's new or not. So we're clearing infections and toxins. So we want to support our detoxification organs in a better way so we can clear these faster. And I had a video a little bit ago with a chart to share with you all the different organs. So check that Spiritual Medicine Digest for details on how to do that. Of course, there's a mental detox. Interesting. So what wants to clear during this is negative, non-supportive thoughts and beliefs, including thought forms, which are kind of like negative beliefs stuck in your field that aren't really necessarily your thoughts, but maybe even other people's thoughts, or maybe even thoughts, negative thoughts that were actually purposefully placed in your field by whoever, okay? Negative beings, but these are really great times to question our beliefs, whether they really serve us or not, and detoxify those that aren't serving us, right? And then there's emotional detox. The most common is frustration and anger during this period of the ascension resistance, but it can be anything. But anger might be the most prominent, irritability, that kind of thing. So instead of going into that and wondering what the heck's wrong with me, just realize, oh, it's that phase. Okay, so then you can use tapping, use stillness, ask your God team, hey, help me with these negative emotions. I know they're detoxing, and reframe it. So don't think of it as bad, but think of it, oh, it's healing, right? So there's energetic toxins and even energetic infections that can affect our energy body. So those want to clear during this phase. Then, of course, there's spiritual things, and this is very prominent with those of us that are highly sensitive souls who are aware of entities, negative beings such as demons, ghosts, and things like that. Just remember, if you're seeing a lot of them now, it's not necessarily because there's more of them on Earth per se. It's because they are now being revealed to heal, right? Revealed to heal. So entities and their weapons, they're ripe for healing. And if you know how to do entity clearing like I do, and we do teach this in Light Warrior Bootcamp, then you can actually help out by doing mass clearings at this time because we're able to do that for the whole universe actually. So then there's dimensional weapons and or devices. So these can be like implants from dimensional, what we call aliens. Now, I just want to make it clear, just because aliens are non-human does not mean that all aliens are bad. Okay, I just want to make it super clear because there are some aliens that are amazing, amazing, high level beings, loving people, and many of us, including myself, in other lifetimes are aliens, not humans, but we decided to incarnate into a human body to help out in this lifetime. So, but there are still, because of our level of consciousness, there are still so-called low vibrational aliens, and they are being affected by demons. So that's why they're low vibrational and manipulative and things like that. So they can place implants, negative implants, and devices, thought form generators, all sorts of things, into our field to kind of slow us down from getting to the higher level of consciousness, right? So these can actually also start dissolving at this level if you can get to that place where you're open to it. And what's really interesting is in the healing process, we have swelling. physically. And when we dissolve these etheric and dimensional implants, oftentimes there is swelling physically because it's like the body's finally going, whoa, 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 what is this thing, right? And trying to get rid of it. But if you you can actually, there's a whole way you can test for implants anyway. But if you do that, you can actually remove that residue much, much faster using Topican healing, at least in our experience. That is a master class that's in the level 1 training program. So, generational, this is very interesting. Um, Generational patterns and programming are ripe for healing as well during the ascension resistance phase. So, that is super cool. So, if things come up for you generationally, things, repetitive patterns, you can consciously help that healing by being conscious of it. And of course, you can always use the Topican healing directive to dissolve and uncreate those patterns. So these are things that you can test for and also dissolve and rebalance and heal, all these kinds of things. Yeah, cool. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, you might want to stay on my mailing list at KarenCan.com. Just, get your freebie there and we'll send you a sense of soul empowerment guide and you'll be abreast of all the happenings in the world and get some support related to you being a sensitive soul. And, I want you to be able to harness your superpowers. So, the other thing I want to share with you are some announcements. As far as announcements go, let me see if I can get my video back here. Oh, there we go. So Monday's show, the Light Warrior Radio Show, which is my podcast, we have Chris Knob, and this is very interesting because I saw a blog post about age-related macular degeneration, and some of my tribe members were asking, "Hey, how do we heal this?" And as a medical doctor, we didn't really learn any information on how to heal it. You just kind of lived with it. You gave the person diagnosis, said, "I'm so sorry," and that's about it. I mean, I'm exaggerating. Now they give like maybe some pills with vitamins and lutein and, azathioprine and anyway. So, I thought, well, gee, here's an article about how to optimize natural healing for age-related macular degeneration. How cool is that? So I contacted Chris Knob and said, hey, can you come on our show? And Chris said, yes. So yay! So it's going to be 12 noon Eastern on Monday. So that is, I'm looking at my calendar here, February 17th, Family Day. So February 17th, 2020, 12 noon Eastern. We'll put the link below this video. If you're on YouTube, you can click that link. And if you can't make it 12 noon Eastern, it'll be archived. So you can just click the link and watch or listen to it whenever you want to. And if you are live, you can actually ask a question as well. So if you know anyone with acute macular degeneration, this might be a great show to share with them. The other announcement I have is that actually this weekend until 17th, again, Monday, Isa Herrera's Female Pelvic Alchemy program is going to be closing soon. So we have been sending freebies to our subscribers from Isa, who's an amazing helper healer person. Helped me with issues with my knee pain, interestingly, through the helping my pelvis. And I took her program and it's just awesome. And she has the most amazing live classes and just a generous soul. So if you know anyone that has like bladder leakage, stress incontinence, pelvic pain, sexual pain, prolapsed organs, things like that, and whatever they're doing is not working, why not do some very, very specific self-care? And it's not just about your physical well-being, it's also mental, emotional as well. And our program is really top-notch and well worth the money. So check it out. We will put the information below. And just know that it's only open till the 17th at this special price, and then it's going to close. So if you know anyone with pelvic issues, please let them know about it. Great. So that is the Spiritual Medicine Digest for this week. I look forward to speaking with you next week. And until next time, lots of love. Bye for now.